They have a combined 12 years in the National Football League. They combined for 65 career sacks, 232 tackles, 1 Pro Bowl selection, and 1 Employee of the Month award.
That's just a straight shooter with upper management written all over him.
It's Train and Grose on the All AZ Podcast Network.
Welcome in episode 62.
Gotta love it.
Train and Grose, coming to you from Train Station Studio, beautiful downtown Phoenix.
Yeah.
And I Googled it because I was unprepared last week.
Okay.
There are 2 members of the Pro Football Hall of Fame that wore number 62.
Wow.
I Googled it.
Okay.
Jim Langer,
Wow.
center for those great Dolphins teams back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And then our own, Cardinals' own, Charlie Trippy.
Wow.
Charlie Trippy was number 62.
It's a trip.
I think we have to defer to the Cardinal, I guess, don't we?
Do I got to hit myself with one?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Come on.
Sorry about that.
The other thing about Charlie Trippy is in December he turned 100 years of age.
Wow.
And only 2 football players.
Is he still with us?
Yeah, he is still with us.
Wow.
2 football players lived to be 100. Charlie Trippy and a guy by the name of Ace Parker. And I don't know who Ace Parker was, but he was a badass because he played football with the name Ace Parker.
Right.
Yeah. And he played without a face mask.
He played without a face mask because
that makes him a badass too.
he was playing back in the day, like way back in the day. He was
leather helmet back in the day.
Maybe no helmet day. He was pre-Charlie Trippy.
Wow.
So shout out to those two great number 62s in honor of podcast number 62. And a little bit of housekeeping, fellas, before we get rolling here. Obviously, the Super Bowl coming up this weekend from Los Angeles. We will now refer to me as the Honest Ram.
Wow.
Shout out to our good friend Al, Big Al Money.
Big Al.
Give me my nickname, Money Mike, which I appreciate, and I've used for these past 10, 11, 12 years, whatever it was.
Yeah, it's about 12.
But we'll retire that, and I will now be referred to as the Honest Ram.
And why?
Because I saw it on a candle. I bought a candle at Target. Thank you, B-Train.
Of course.
And you're the Leo.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I bought myself the Aries. So on it said the Honest Ram. And I said that fits me to a T.
You know the funny thing about the fact that we're at the Super Bowl now and we've gone through the playoffs? Isn't it quite odd that there have been very few COVID cases since the playoffs started?
Hang on. Let me check my zero.
Since the playoffs started. Mm-hmm. I find that very odd.
Extremely odd.
NFL, what's up?
Here's what you got to do if you're the NFL. And I had this conversation with a buddy of mine. You have to make it at least look not quite as suspicious, right? So, like, you take a special teamer or a practice squad guy, and you give him a positive,
or an
right?
Equipment manager.
Equipment guy, you give him a positive. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just even if he doesn't have it, you just announce it. Like, hey,
and I don't
this
know
guy's got it. Just so it doesn't look so bad.
How's the NFL different than college basketball? Because college basketball, the schedules are a mess.
Destroyed.
Like we were talking before we started recording, the University of Arizona apparently has a pretty good basketball squad this year. You saw them firsthand.
Not bad at the basketball. I've seen them twice firsthand in the last week.
But you look at all they can talk about is how they're getting screwed by the Pac-12 because they haven't canceled any games, or they haven't been the reason games have been canceled or postponed. But their schedule is totally jacked up.
It was UCLA, USC, ASU, all those. We all had to cancel on them at one point, but making them up now.
They're making them up now. Mm-hmm. So, and they're apparently they're.
What are they? Carl Lewis? Am I make up for it now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's one of the best moments in sports history
ever. Hey, Super Bowl.
Yes.
Super Bowl week.
Yeah.
Only one of us at this table has experience preparing for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And that's you. Where are you at mentally on the Wednesday before the Super Bowl if you're on the Cincinnati Bengals or the Los Angeles Rams?
You are completely locked in, and it is playtime's over. The family is about to come in tomorrow. So you are getting those preparations in where you're studying the extra film, you're doing all the things that you need to do to make sure that there are no questions about the game plan. You're crossing every T, you're dotting every I, you're making sure that this thing is ready to go. And no matter what call that the coach may call, you are locked in on every scenario that may occur during the course of that game.
Let me ask you this. Because I think we mentioned this last week. You go all these years with never having a team play in their home stadium. Now you have back-to-back years. Go back to your time playing in the Super Bowl. How much of a benefit would it have been to still be sleeping in your own bed, to still be walking into your own facility, to when you go to play that game, you're taking the same trip in your own, in the same thing you've done at this point. Well, back then it would have been 8 to 10 times that particular year. It's the same routine. It's the same stretch of roads. It's the same night before hotel. It's the same everything. Mm-hmm. How much of a benefit is that?
2 possessions.
You think so?
Wow. I think it's a 2-possession advantage.
That's huge.
I really do. I think the fact that you go through a normal routine, the fact that you're so familiar with your surroundings, you don't really have to get caught up in the hoopla of the Super Bowl because to you, it's just another home game with a lot of attention around it. And there's a lot more people. But at the same time, if you don't have to adjust and adapt to any circumstance and you can just go out there and play, I think that's at least 2 possessions.
And I've heard a lot of guys, because you always have that week off, right? And so the conversation comes up, do you really need that week off? And a lot of guys will tell you, hell, it takes you a week just to deal with all the family things going on. People wanting tickets, trying to find hotel accommodations, all the people that you're surrounded by, just trying to figure that out. Right. Remove all that for that home team.
Yeah.
Last year's Bucks, this year's Rams, remove all that. The family's there.
To a degree, because now you've got more people trying to get into
maybe
the
you got more tickets, trying to get into that circle.
But, and trying to stay with you. You're like, oh, man, let's break out the inflatable bed. Let's break out the comforter. I'll sleep on the ground. It don't matter.
I was just going to say that knowing you especially, that degree
3 days.
Right, exactly. That degree of disruption.
I know.
Would not be a good thing. Almost to the point where, like, hey, you come do whatever you want. Go stay in a hotel. I'll see you after the game.
That's right. That's right.
To your point, like, creature of habit, routine, all these things we hear about. And if you roll in after whatever your obligations are on a given day, and you got the whole family around the kitchen table playing dominoes, eating barbecue, and you're like,
going
dude, I want to go to bed and get some rest and So stay out of my house.
Yeah, I think on the back end of it, it could be a little bit of a disadvantage, but the fact that you get Sunday game day at home, I think it's a 2-possession advantage.
How much pressure, reading and watching and just seeing all the things that are being written, how much pressure is on this Rams team? Because we've talked about this. The Bengals are ahead of schedule. Right. Whatever you thought about the Cincinnati Bengals, they are ahead of schedule. Mm-hmm. So they're in essence, they're playing with house money. They're playing to win, but the pressure is not as much on the Bengals as it is on the Rams.
Well,
this Rams team is built to win now.
Okay. So I'm going to disagree. I'm going to push back just a little bit because we've seen young teams a la Dan Marino, guys that were young and, they'll be back.
That's a good point.
They never get back.
No, and I don't mean look, you're in the game. You're playing to win.
You play to win.
All due respect, right?
And
you play to win the game.
It sucks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So I don't mean that necessarily.
Yes.
But I don't know that they have that degree of pressure externally that you look at everything that's being written and said about
Stafford
the Rams.
And
Stafford was brought here for this reason only. Right. Everything he's done, fine. Von Miller, we bought you in. We mortgaged all these guys.
Ramsey.
All these guys, right? This is why we did this.
OBJ.
And you've made that comment on this podcast.
Yes.
It's not a win unless they win it all.
Yes, because they've gotten to this point before. They did that with Jared Goff. They were at a Super Bowl, and they scored 3 points. And so if you go out there and if they don't perform at a higher level than what they did the previous Super Bowl, I think they're going to look at Sean McVay and they're going to be like, okay, it's not these external factors, it's you.
Right.
Because you're the common denominator. They're not going to blame Aaron Donald because he's going to probably have his usual dominant performance. They're not going to look at a certain player. They may look at Matthew Stafford and give him a little bit of the blame of it, but I think the guy that has the most pressure on him going into this game is Sean McVay because not only is it his team he has to worry about, you think about the coach for the other team was once upon a time his offensive coordinator, a guy that knows him backwards and forwards. And if your protege beats you to the punch and gets a ring before you do, you got a lot of egg on your face. You got a lot of explaining to do in that situation. So I think for Sean McVay, the fact that he's one of the younger coaches to ever get to a Super Bowl and be there twice but not get one home, I think that would say a lot about him. And I think you would start to see the narrative start to shift towards him just a little bit.
I thought it was interesting, and I might get this quote maybe not exactly right, but Von Miller said something to the effect of, when you look at this team, and particularly my relationship with Aaron Donald, our friendship is predicated on winning a Super Bowl.
Wow.
It's transactional. It's a business, just like
it is business.
Just like you said all along with this stuff.
Yes.
So our friendship is predicated on us winning this game Sunday.
And he's always maintained that if it wasn't for being traded, he'd still be in Denver. He never wanted to leave. He never asked to leave Denver. So This was a situation that was pressed upon him, and he's made the most of it. I mean, I think anybody in that situation would feel good now, but I think there's still feelings that he's harboring of a little bit of resentment that he was uprooted from a place where he thought he was going to play forever.
But at least he lands in a place where you could win a championship. Like, there's something to that, right?
Only if they win. It's not worth it if they don't win. To get there, he's been there. He's been a Super Bowl champion.
Ring. Yeah.
He was the MVP.
Well, I think you make a good point. Like, in the back of his mind, it's like, they didn't want me. Like,
yes.
Like, it's Von Miller. It's business. And from a football standpoint, where you can understand things, but as an individual, when they cut you loose and they're like, we're going in a different direction.
Appreciate you.
What about the other side of that coin? Remember what happened in the middle of the season this year with the Rams? Deshaun Jackson wasn't getting the touches he wanted, and he asked, please get me off this roster.
Yeah.
The other side of the coin is there's a guy that asked to be off the roster that is now in the Super Bowl. What's he feeling like? You know what I mean? He went to Vegas and still wasn't getting a whole hell of a lot of touches, and he was dropping the ones that he did get. And they bow out in the first round. Meanwhile, his former team's in the Super Bowl. How does that make him feel?
I think he feels a little, he's living with a little regret right now.
You have to be.
With Robert Woods going down, I think he would have been the guy that would have slotted in and gotten those extra touches that you gave to Odell Beckham Jr. once you made the trade for him. So, yeah, I think if you're Deshaun Jackson, you're kicking yourself because other than 2008 with the Philadelphia Eagles, this was the closest you would have ever been to a Super Bowl. And now, I'm not trying to throw shade at you, Sean, but I don't know if we're going to see the Raiders in a Super Bowl anytime soon.
Oh, they're not. That's not shade. That's,
I mean, I look at the division and I look at the team. They were in the playoffs, so it's not like it's that far-fetched.
Sure.
If you're in the playoffs, you have a chance to get there.
Yeah, anything can happen. But you watch that Bills and that Chiefs game, and again, that's just a different level of football.
Well,
that's just
different level of quarterbacks. If you don't have those type of quarterbacks on your roster, no shade again at your guy Derek Carr.
It's my quarterback.
But if you don't have that transcendent type of quarterback at the helm, it's going to be very, very tough. And speaking of transcendent quarterbacks, my man Joe Burrow, I think he is gaining publicity and gaining the likes by the day. The way that he goes about his business and the fact that he's had a 3-year stretch for the ages. He goes and he throws 60 touchdowns, wins the Heisman at LSU, wins the national championship, blowing out Clemson. Then you come your first year in the league, you're on a fast track to winning Rookie of the Year, but then you blow out your ACL. You come back the very next year and you go through all of the people that he's gone through in order to get this done. My goodness. I don't know who's had a more impressive 3-year stretch from transitioning from college going to the pro in their first 2 years.
No, there's no question about it. No, there's no question about it. And just the whole Bengals phenomenon, I would call it that. If you look on social media, I love the tweets about the last time the Bengals were in the Super Bowl. Like what was going on in the world the last time the Bengals were on the Super Bowl.
1988?
I can tell you what was going on. 1988, my brother was in town. He was playing at Prairie View. They had a basketball tournament in Cincinnati. And the day that they clinched, he was in Cincinnati actually scalping tickets to a concert. He told me this. He's like, 88, I was in, and I remember because they wound up getting these tickets to this particular concert that was being held at a local spot. And they wound up grabbing a handful of tickets, and they were able to sell them at a very discounted rate but still make a lot of money. So in 88, he said they cleared about $500 a piece. And I came back swagged out with all kind of gear.
That's good living.
He remembers 1988 to a T because he was actually in the city when they clinched.
So since we are very musical on this program, all three of us really enjoy music.
88, baby.
So it's 1988, your top songs in 1988. Now I'm looking at a list in no particular order, but these were the hits that were on your radio. Phil Collins, A Groovy Kind of Love.
Wow.
Simply Irresistible by Robert Palmer.
Wow.
Bad Medicine by Bon Jovi.
Wow.
Get Out of My Dreams, Get Into My Car by Billy Ocean. All right.
Wow.
Wild Wild West by The Escape Club.
Wow.
Remember that? Fast Car by Tracy Chapman. So just put yourself.
Fast Car.
That's what was going on your radio when you were getting ready for the game, Super Bowl Sunday back in '88.
Boogie Down Production.
Last time
My
they were
philosophy.
There. Yep.
The last time
'88.
the last time the Bengals were in the Super Bowl also coincided with the first Bud Bowl.
Wow.
Is that right?
The long neck cans where
Love
the
that.
Bud Light and the Budweiser played each other.
Wow.
Like, I mean, you just think about who was the
We
president.
loved that when I was a kid. My younger brother, or my older brother and I.
And think about
Loved
this.
that.
Ronald Reagan was president.
Yeah.
How about that?
Hate Myself for Loving You by Joan Jett and the Blackhearts.
Come on.
It was so long ago that they sampled that song as an intro to Monday Night Football at one point.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So that song has gone, came back, and gone again since the Bengals were in the Super Bowl.
The other thing that's pretty cool is if you look at the media from Cincinnati, this town is just like
They're going nuts.
they're losing it.
They're
Like
beside themselves.
like they're naming parks after the quarterback, and it's
As they should,
How
though.
could you not, though?
Yeah.
no, I know, right? But it's everything you would expect with the Super Bowl.
They're ahead of schedule.
Houday,
Right.
You know, there's a Cincinnati. There's a city in northern Kentucky.
1988 was a good movie year as well.
Wow.
Look at
What do you got?
Beetlejuice,
Wow.
Bull Durham,
Wow.
Roger Rabbit.
Who
Came
framed
out.
Roger Rabbit?
Yeah, it came out that year as well. It's pretty good. The Great Outdoors. Oh, classic. John Candy, The Great
Is
Outdoors.
that I thought that was
Yeah.
a movie.
Oh, it's so good. 1988. It's Caddyshack 2. came out the year.
No. You just lost me. You just lost me.
All right. With all that being said,
Oh, man. Can we talk about the game?
do the Bengals have a chance?
Yes, they have a chance. They
Do the Bengals
great
have a chance?
I really believe if they are able to impose their will from an offensive standpoint. I know Jalen Ramsey has lobbied to cover Jamar Chase, but you still got T. Higgins, you still got Boyd, and you still got the running back. I mean, they still got a lot of weapons that the Los Angeles Rams are going to have to defend. And it's not a slam dunk that they're going to be able to cover all those guys because, I mean, you know, my man Weddle, I mean, he was serviceable, but I don't know if he's really ready for that life of having 30 times where he's got to be man-on-man with the slot receiver.
Here's the problem, though, because you're 100% right. You still got Chase, you still got Higgins, but you still got to be standing in order to get him the ball.
Well, that's it.
And
is that the matchup?
That offensive line and that defensive front for the Rams, and because you've got a secondary that's not going to allow you to get rid of it now all the time, you can press, you can trust those guys to play up at the line and try and give that extra half second to that defensive front. I don't like the Bengals' chances. I just don't.
Ask Kansas City how that worked out for them. They were supposed to take advantage of that
But
matchup.
that Kansas City defensive front is not the Rams' defensive seven.
It's not the Rams, but again, all he needs is a little time because they got their hands on him. Like Chris Jones was all over.
Yeah, they did.
Joe Burrow.
Well, remember,
and for whatever reason, he could not get him down. There were at least 3 occasions I can remember he had him dead to rights, and somehow Joe Burrow got off the hook. Like he squirmed off the hook and was able to not only make a play downfield, but run with the football.
Yeah,
and get first down.
that Bengals defense is going to have to play out of their minds because if this game gets into the high 20s, into the 30s, I don't like your chances. Yeah. If this game lives like the Titans game did, because remember Joe Burrow was sacked 9 times in that game against the Titans or something crazy.
Gave it away.
He did, and that's what I'm saying.
First play of the game.
Yeah, right. It was the first play of the game, first play of the half, the second half, and then the last play of the game as well. But that's the defense is going to have to come up with those type of plays because if this game gets into the 30s,
I got you.
I don't like your chances.
I got you. What you got, Mike?
I'm with you. I appreciate what you're saying, but man, I look at this Rams defense and what we've seen from that Cincinnati offensive line.
That's the only thing I don't like about Cincinnati.
Like if they put me on TV and they said, what's your key to the game? Like, right. That's it.
O-line, D-line. It always starts up front.
Right.
It does, but I think it's even more pronounced in this game. I really do.
Just because of the glaring weakness of one and the glaring strength of the other.
What we've seen, even in the wins from the Bengals versus and I don't know that the Rams defense, I mean, they can play better than they've played so far, that defense.
Yes.
And that's a scary thought if I'm prepping for them.
Well, also, too, there was a lot of familiarity in playing your divisional rival in an NFC Championship game. Nobody knows you better than a division rival. Fair. And the fact that Kyle Shanahan basically, the fact that they have so much history, he and Sean McVay, they were on the coaching staff once upon a time together in Washington in 2013, and these guys are very good friends. They all have the same agent, so there's a lot of prior knowledge. And it's actually the same thing with the Cincinnati Bengals because, their head coach is very familiar with Sean McVay. So, but to me, as an old guy, I root for Aaron Donald. I want Aaron Donald to get that ring.
I'd agree with that.
Because that's the last step for him to really solidify himself as one of the all-time greats as far as defensive linemen, really football players, because we could talk about defensive linemen all we want.
Right.
He's already in that upper echelon. I almost put him on that Mount Rushmore of defensive linemen right now. But to have that glaring vacancy in your resume, you've been to a Super Bowl, you've been a Defensive Player of the Year, you've been a 8-time All-Pro, Pro Bowler. You've done everything that you could do other than MVP, which I think one of those years he got robbed of MVP. But to get that last check in his resume, I think that would be a great way for him to start to think about his future beyond football.
See, and it's funny because I agree with you, and he's one of those guys you definitely root for when it comes to the Rams. For whatever reason, though my thoughts of how the game's going to play out leans heavily towards the Rams, I'm finding myself, the closer we get, wanting to root for this Bengals team. I don't know if it's the swag of Joe Burrow or all those young, talented players we've been talking about. Chase is just, as much as I told you guys I love watching Debo play with the 49ers, right. Chase is right there, too. He's just so damn electric and fun to watch. So I'm starting to lean towards rooting for this Bengals team.
No, I agree with that.
I think the Rams win, but I'm pulling for this Bengals team.
If I had to pick right now, I would be rooting for the Bengals as well. I don't think they're going to win, but the lovable losers, everything like that. I mean, you look at that. There's teams that they've been to the Super Bowl, but they're not an elite franchise in the NFL.
Yeah, and having said that, I'm not going to be upset if we're watching the Rams and there's some of the guys that are on that team that deserve it, holding up the trophy at the end of the game. We're seeing, you know what I mean? Aaron
I just
Donald
hope it's a game.
Me too.
I was in Denver during the Washington game and the Giants game.
Oh, brutal.
Those were brutal. And it was especially bad because I was in Denver. Depression set in.
Man, they've had some of the Washington one, the
San Francisco one.
I was just going to add into
55
it. 55 to 10.
That's
and
awful.
they hit him right away. Boom, that deep post
Jerry
over
Rice.
the corner deep post to Jerry.
I just hope we avoid a game like that, and then I hope for good commercials.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so the $1 million question is, where are you guys watching?
I'm working it, unfortunately, at the casino. I'm hosting an event at Casino, Arizona.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bring me my money. I'm watching it at a friend's house. They've got the setup outside. It's supposed to be nice. They've got the TV. They've got the fire pit. And we are eating barbecue on the patio.
Once upon a time, we watched it together.
I think we need to bring
what
that
year
tradition
was.
back. We should bring that tradition back.
I'm all for it.
Next year, we need to plan it right. Do a Super Bowl party somewhere, one of our houses. Doesn't matter which one.
Hey, I'm all for it.
Either that or we just meet here.
That is
three
not
of
a
us.
terrible idea.
Lock it up.
Three of us.
Say we got to work, and we could.
We can record an episode while watching.
Wow.
That's not a terrible idea.
What was that
Not a bad
TV
idea.
show back in the day? I think it was on Sci-Fi Network where they'd watch old sci-fi movies, but they'd had the people.
It was the
sitting-
robot chicken or something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
We could sit here and watch it. And we could just
Eat chicken.
Stream of conscious. Well, I'd do it. Go to Rudy's.
Yeah, I'm not. Any
All right, so
chicken is chicken.
Final predictions from you guys as we wrap up the segment.
We do. I don't do scores well.
Yeah, I don't know the score. I got the Rams.
I think the Rams are going to win, and I don't think it's going to be that close.
I think the Rams destroy them.
Yeah.
I think you get some early turnovers and it just snowballs and quicksand for the Bengals and it just gets out of control.
Unfortunately, I think you're right. It just it's got that feel.
Got that
about it.
feel, man.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I feel like we got robbed again of Kansas City, Los Angeles. Remember we were supposed to have that a few years ago when they played that epic
Monday Night Football game.
54-51.
Yeah.
I just knew that they were going to rematch in the Super Bowl, and then the Patriots came and ruined the party.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not upset about it.
Get over yourself, man.
Wow.
Just not
You hear
upset.
this guy?
Yeah, I hear him. I hear him.
upset
That's
about
a Raider
It's
fan.
a bad
It's
look.
the Raider
I
in him.
can't- It is a bad
Listen,
look.
I can't be happy when that team goes to the Super Bowl.
Listen.
I just can't.
When it comes to that team,
Can't.
he changes his name to Hayton Manning.
Yeah, I got you. Hey, real
I
quick,
just can't.
real quickly, give us a follow on Twitter at Train and Grose, and
yeah.
shout out to people. We got some feedback.
Yeah.
We'll take it. It's been good feedback.
No doubt.
Shout out to let's see, where we at? Balcony Cheerleader. This is one of the best podcast collaborations out there. What's a collaboration? We work well together.
Yeah, basically.
That's it.
It's it's what's it called when you have a bunch of people in a movie? It's a ensemble cast, I don't know what. And then Michael James, and he's got to be one of your guys because he's got Irish in his name.
Yeah, he's a Notre Dame guy.
Really good stuff on the podcast. Topical, opinionated, and fiery.
Yeah.
Fiery. But now, feedback. We love it. Good or bad. Give us a shout out at
Appreciate
Train and Grose on Twitter. We'll step aside here, and then we got kind of an NFL potpourri coming up on the other side.
Train and Grose.
Welcome back in. I'm the Honest Ram alongside Birch and Barry, Sean Crespin. You guys thought I was kidding, didn't you?
Let me get him a shirt.
Back in the day when I got my Money Mike nickname, I walked in and we were probably doing it at it was at a car dealership or a casino or
Right Honda, right Toyota.
or a grocery
like
store.
Yeah.
I came in with one of them big chains on, Money Mike. Hey, lots going on around the NFL, so we'll do a potpourri topic or of NFL topics here and get your opinion on stuff and talk it through. First up, the Pro Bowl. What'd you think?
Hated it.
I saw.
Could not. I got through a play, and I was done.
All right, so you played in this game.
I felt so disrespected.
I was going to ask you
felt
that
so
because I saw guys like Prime and others who've played in multiple talking about,
I felt disrespected.
Because when you guys played, I mean.
We played.
You played.
It was a game.
Yeah.
We didn't go full out 100%, but you played the game.
And this, what was it, Taylor? Sean
Taylor
Just-
and Moore, the punter from
You
Buffalo.
just destroy him.
He tried to fake,
He
and
destroyed him.
he came out of nowhere like a heat-seeking missile. That was the very next year.
It's one of the best hits I've ever seen in my life, and it happened in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
It's just so
and your opinion is not unique to you. I mean,
No.
your friend, your former teammate, Shannon Sharp said he was sad.
So what drives that?
I think the players get together, and it is – I'm not going to be a get-off-my-lawn guy because I don't think it's because I'm just an older guy and, well, back in my day and all that kind of stuff. I think the newer generation of players understand that the last thing that you want to do is ever be injured in the Pro Bowl. And I think
In an exhibition game.
And somewhere along the way, I think somebody may have been injured. And after that, it was like, nah, we don't need this.
Who was I think it was a Chargers tight end in a beach football game. It was something around the Pro Bowl type thing. It was the only year they did this beach. Tore his knee up.
It was a running back.
Was it a running back?
Running back for the Patriots, Edwards.
Okay.
I remember that.
Do you guys remember this? It was like a beach promotional game of some type. Tore his leg up.
Never played. Never really.
Yep.
Never got
but
on the
that
field.
was like NFL's like, nope, done with that. And those kind of moments, I guess, maybe led to where we are. So, I mean, it's unfortunate. I still watch it.
No.
Put it this way. I don't really watch it. I have it on the DVR, and then when I'm working in the office, it's just on, right? But one of those. But it's I don't know how you improve it. I don't know what
that's
you do.
it. I don't know what the fix is.
And the ratings, here's the problem. Ratings are still great.
Yeah.
So the NFL's
Where's
not
the incentive?
The NFL has no incentive to change it. They're going to keep taking that check because the ratings are still great.
Because who drives it? Their TV partner was happy because the ratings were good.
Yeah.
And they'll come up with some gimmicky stuff to tweak it.
Awful.
But that's it. And
the skills competition stuff was kind of fun. Did you guys see that? Some of the new competitions?
I didn't watch
they
any
were kind
of
of
it, man.
fun.
Did not watch any of it.
I mean, I just don't know what you do.
Do you like
here.
it? Do you like it? The rotating? I mean, I don't know that Hawaii is an option anymore. Vegas for
No. I don't want it. I wanted it in Hawaii. I wanted it to be something. I always wanted it now I'm going to be that get off my lawn guy. I feel like when it was in Hawaii, it was something unique. It was something different that you had to earn. You had to earn the right to go across that water. Yes, it was a reward for having a great season.
Yeah.
And although there were politics involved with the voting, they still pretty much got it right. Even though you may have felt like at some point some guys were grandfathered in, they maybe went a year before or a year after they were supposed to go, and then they stayed a year longer than they were supposed to go. So looking at it like that, yeah, but if you were a multiple-time guy, then, you've earned the right to go. And I think for a guy like myself, I enjoyed every minute of it. My family enjoyed every minute of it. It was such an honor to go across that water and represent my family, represent the organization, because that year I was the only Cardinal to go to the Pro Bowl. And I was the first Cardinal to ever wear the new logo. So there were a lot of different things that were going on that made it so cool and so exciting for me that I wanted everybody to experience something like that, and it's just not the case anymore.
We're 1 week removed from talking about Brian Flores, his lawsuit against the National Football League. And since we did our last podcast, the NFL has filled all their
9
coaching vacancies. And I'm going to read this list of names. Matt Eberflus. I'm going to mess that one every time. Eberflus, is it?
With the Colts.
Nathaniel Hackett, Mike McDaniel, Brian Dable, Doug Peterson, Josh McDaniels, Dennis Allen, Lovie Smith, and Kevin O'Connell are your new head coaches in the National Football League. Some interesting demographic. The old coaches look a lot like the new coaches, literally and figuratively. Average age of the 9 new NFL head football coaches is 47. The average age of the 23 returning NFL head coaches is 49. 6 of those returning coaches are over 60. One of these guys is over 60, the new hires. And then 5 of the 23 returning coaches are under 40, and 2 of the 9 are under 40. So look a lot alike physically and in terms of what the resumes are.
The more things change, the more they stay the same. And I think it's really sad that you only had 2 coaches of the minority coaches that were hired out of 9. When you look at how the NFL is continuing to expand and evolve, and the fact that the coaching and the people in positions of authority don't mirror the change and the evolution that we've seen culturally and what we've seen in the NFL, I just think that at some point the process has to change. Somehow, some way, these owners have to get out of their comfort zone and be able to see a variety of candidates, not ones that they are already very familiar with.
I think the more disheartening thing about this whole thing, if you just sit back and from the time that Brian Flores filed the lawsuit and all the details came out, because there was a lot to unpack there, and there was the hiring of minority coaches, but there was also the accusation that he was paid to lose football games.
Or attempted to be paid.
Attempted to be paid to lose football games while he was the head coach of the Dolphins. When the owners, when they talk about the hiring of coaches, they're like, yeah, we got a lot of work to do. Like if you could kind of distill it down to one answer, and
that's so generic, though.
No, it is. No, exactly, and that's my point. That's why it's disheartening. That's why I use the word disheartening, because, okay, you've had work to do. What have you done? And clearly, based on what we saw the past week or so, we know what the answer is.
Nothing.
And then even more disheartening is that the outrage was more focused on the tanking for money. Whether it happened or it didn't, and we'll find out eventually, that seemed to draw the ire of the commissioner and the owners more so than the issue with the hiring of minority coaches.
But see, the wrong people are outraged. As long as the 32 owners are not outraged, nothing is going to change.
Or to your point that we made last week, not even outraged, challenged. To your point, if they're not going to come out of their comfort zone, you've got to pull them out. You've got to force them somehow out of their comfort zone, whether that's litigation or whatever. You've got to force them out of their comfort zone.
How do you force white billionaires?
Lawsuits.
But okay.
But even that's difficult.
Because
it's difficult.
You got to
I know.
wait that out. I mean, they've got money to wait that out. Even.
No, I understand that, but we saw, and I look, it's not. Whatever I'm about to say, it's going to be easy. Isn't going to be part of the equation,
right?
But we saw how quickly they folded in the St. Louis case when they said, we're going to do depositions now. And as soon as they said that, they got the checkbooks out.
Well, that was because they didn't want to disclose what they were doing. They didn't want to open their books. But when they said we need to see your books, they're like, whoa. Hold
right.
on.
Depositions, once you get into them, they can go any direction.
Right.
And, you're going to – what are you going to get when you put Bill Belichick in front of a camera and start asking questions? Because he's part of this story, whether he wants to be or not.
Right.
That's how you do it. That's how you force the issue. I like I said, it's probably not going to happen. And if it does happen, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
And the thing that I think is really interesting is you made a point which I wholeheartedly agree with. If you were the Houston Texans, why don't you just hire Brian Flores now? And they passed on that.
Yeah, I mean, they hired Lovie Smith, which was so crazy to me because he was already on the staff. Like, you fired David Culley, but then you hire a guy that was on his staff. So who were you really upset with? I mean, what about that whole time, that year, did you not like? If you're going to fire David Culley, why would you hire somebody that was underneath him, that had to answer to him?
Look, I agree with you. I totally agree with you.
It doesn't make any sense.
If it was broke, Why are you going to keep somebody who was part of the broke as the fix?
Yes.
It seemed like a panic hire. Like they had to make a hire and like
Lovey, okay, you've got some experience.
You know, and Doug Peterson? Come on. Like I would love to be a fly on the wall and listen to Byron Leftwich tell whoever his confidants are why he pulled out of that. Like what happened? What signals did he get? What did they say to him that he said, you know what? I'm out. And then you settle.
Yeah.
I'm going to use the word. They settled for Doug Peterson.
I mean, you are talking about a guy that was a Super Bowl champion. I mean, we can look at Mike McCarthy, too, and say, did the Cowboys settle for Mike McCarthy, who was also a Super Bowl champion? I mean, I think that's a fair statement. Why would you not go with a guy like Byron Leftwich? Byron Leftwich checks all the boxes that you look for. Young, up and coming, has had success in the NFL as a player, as a coach, won a Super Bowl, I should say, as an offensive coordinator, clearly has the respect of the people that played for him, including one of the best quarterbacks to ever do it in Tom Brady, who fully endorsed Byron Leftwich. So how does he not get a chance to be in a place where they were so familiar with him already because his playing career was primarily there? I don't understand that. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But to me, this whole hiring process has a lot of overhauling to do. They've got to fix it, and it's not going to be one of those 1-2 year fixes. This is one of those where I think we'll be in the 2030s before we start to really see some real change in how this whole process unfolds.
And Byron Leftwich and, oh, by the way, Eric Bieniemy left out.
I mean, not even offered.
No. I don't even think I heard his name
at all.
As like all. We're going to bring in, even – and I understand that the bring-in point is fraught with issues now based on what we understand. But to not even be part of that conversation, and now they're talking about his contract's expiring in Kansas City, and they're like, where's he going to go?
I mean,
where's he going to go?
I think he stays in Kansas City. I don't think there's any reason for him to leave.
I think
Why would he leave? I mean, Andy Reid doesn't seem to be unhappy with him. I think he wants to keep him, and he wants him to have a chance to be a head coach in his own right. But until that moment comes around.
The only thing I could see as to why he would want to potentially end up somewhere else is because right now there's the narrative that that's Andy's offense. Andy's calling the plays. Andy was Andy before Bieniemy was there. Andy will be Andy after Bieniemy's gone. So if you're trying to remove that narrative, if you're Eric Bieniemy, maybe that would be incentive to maybe end up somewhere else.
Okay, that sounds good, but we've already seen coaches from Andy Reid's tree be head coaches. Doug Peterson was a coach where he was the offensive coordinator, and they all of a sudden went with his offensive coordinator. But we knew Andy Reid was calling the plays. Who did we just see get fired in Chicago? He was a guy that was under Andy Reid as well, and he didn't call plays, but they saw enough of him to make him a head coach. Right. So what are we talking about? It's not about.
Well, I'm just saying, if you're Bieniemy, you guys said what would make him want to leave.
Matt Nagy.
Yeah, Matt Nagy. But what would make him want to leave? Well, that's the only thing I could think of. Is if he feels like that's a narrative,
or is it his choice? Is it his choice? 2 hours ago, report out of Kansas City, Matt Nagy close to being named replacement for Eric Bieniemy. Maybe it's not his choice. I don't know.
But my point is, you look at Zach Taylor with the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
When he was on the staff with Sean McVay, who was calling the plays?
Right.
Sean McVay.
Yeah.
It wasn't Zach Taylor, but somehow he found a way to get interviewed and get a job. They saw enough in him and his own ideas to give him a shot. So it's not about whether it's Andy Reid's offense or Sean McVay's offense. If the assistant coaches are competent enough, they're going to get opportunities to go somewhere else.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That whole theory is blown out of the water when it comes to Eric Bieniemy, because we've seen from that very coaching staff guys that were called to be head coaches in other places.
And then went on to have success.
Yeah. Kyler Murray.
My goodness.
What happened?
So Kyler Murray.
What hasn't happened?
Speaking of the Pro Bowl, Kyler Murray played in the Pro Bowl, threw 3 touchdowns and an interception.
And one to the other team.
I was just saying, an interception. And then apparently got bored on the flight home and scrubbed the Arizona Cardinals from all his social media.
To be fair, he scrubbed his entire account.
He scrubbed his entire account.
Pictures and everything.
But I guess the added perk or whatever the word I'm looking for here, the added kicker, thank you, is that he doesn't follow the Cardinals anymore. So, look, on the one hand, I'm like, man, slow news day that we're going to see what Kyler Murray did or didn't do on his social media relative to that. But I think it goes to, a bigger question with how this season ended for this team and what part did he play in that and what part does he play going forward?
Yeah.
They beat the Chicago Bears in Chicago the first Sunday of December.
Right.
That ran the record 10-2.
Since that moment.
After that, including the loss to the Rams in the playoffs, they won one game at the Dallas Cowboys. They won one football game down the stretch.
Imagine that. They beat that team over and over and over again. I
knew that. I just put it in there for your benefit.
The funny thing is, there was a realtor that called some of the fans in the Cowboys, that support that team, and they were like, well, why is there Arizona Cardinal stuff all over Jerry World? Because they own them. I mean, they absolutely own them, and they've owned property in Arlington, Texas for quite some time because I think the last, 6 or 7 meetings have all gone to the Cardinals in reference to that team. I will always troll that team right there. How about them Cowboys?
Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Mike. Appreciate you.
What do we make, though? Like I said, 10-2, 1st of December. Just think about what this town was like at that point. The media, the talking about this, home field advantage for the playoffs.
He's hit it on the head the last 2 weeks. I think you've brought it up, E-Train, where if you're not making any type of adjustments throughout the year, if you're a very similar team in weeks of 12, 13, 14, and 15 as you were in weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, the NFL is going to catch up with you.
I think that's fair.
I wasn't done. It's not one thing. It's that combined with play of some of the players on the field who
or some guys not on the field,
or guys, and that's my next one, injuries. So I think so often in today's world we want to be like, this is why it's this or it's that. Like, I think there's a handful of things, but I think the biggest one is what B-Train says. You're the same damn team you are in week 15 as you were in week 5. You're going to have some problems.
And that's possible, and it's probably played a part in it. And I'll ask the question this way. Is Kyler Murray a leader?
No.
Like, you played the game.
No.
And you've talked to us before about, hey, we watched his eyes. Or when I was watching the tape, here's what I saw. I saw his body language. I saw his tendencies. I saw what he did in these situations.
Yeah.
You watched this, and you've watched Kyler Murray.
Yep.
And we've asked you this question. What would you do to prepare for this, prepare for that?
Yep.
But just a big picture, the what do they call it, the 50,000-foot flyby.
Yeah.
Is Kyler Murray a leader?
No.
Like, if you're sitting on a defensive bench for the Arizona Cardinals and you watch the body language when he comes off the field, when something doesn't go right, a drive stalls, a turnover, somebody doesn't make a play that he wants that he thought they should have made.
Yep.
The body language is atrocious. Awful. And I'm not – look, I get it, but that's got to wear on the entire team.
Yeah. It does. And I think for the Cardinals, you need someone when you have everything going against you, like we've talked about, when you are predictable, when you don't make adjustments, and when you seem to be doing the same thing over and over and over, you're ultimately the guy with the ball in your hand.
Right.
You have the opportunity to make adjustments. You can call a different play. You can override the coach and tune him out, basically, when you're in the huddle, because – no matter what happens, they can't cross that white line. There's a big old white line that's painted on every single game, which is called a sideline. And the coach can never cross that during the course of a game. But the player can. And the quarterback can. And he's the guy that has everybody's attention in the huddle before the play is called. And whatever he decides that they want the play to be, they're going to run what he says, not what the coach says. Yes, that may be a blow-up on Monday when you go back in and say, why didn't you run the call that I called? But during the course of the game, everybody's going to have to suck it up and do what Kyler asked them to do. And if he doesn't have the moxie to take control like that, or if he's not bothered enough to care to do that,
that's right there.
So then you're going to have people look at you sideways anyway. And I think for Kyler Murray, the things that we've seen over the course of the year, there have been hints that maybe he's not all in with football. We've seen him do interviews after the games with Oakland A's hats on. Why are you wearing hats of another sport that you were drafted in? Why are you doing that? To me, that's saying that you got 1 foot in and 1 foot out. Right. You're constantly thinking about your options. And we talked about this before we even got to the show, Mike. If you are a guy like Kyler Murray, you look at your future. He's a pretty smart guy. Say what you want about being a leader and all that kind of stuff, but I think he has enough wherewithal to look at it like this. man, I always find myself at the end of the season beat up. Mm-hmm. I always find the team around me pretty beat up. We don't seem to finish very strong down the stretch. We seem to get worse as the season goes on as opposed to getting better.
Yeah.
That's frustrating if you're an athlete, where you continue to see the same trend year after year after year. Plus, you've had opportunities to do other things where you were number 9? What was it, number 9 pick overall in the Major League Baseball draft? And you start thinking, well, man, if I could just hit a curveball 1 out of 4 times every game and be a decent fielder, a defender, then I could make $25 million for the next 15 years. Why am I beating myself up for the cause that doesn't seem to be helping me get any closer to being a champion?
I can't argue with any of that. I mean, you look at it, and like I said, it's got to be because you see it in the workplace, right? You know, you and I never played in the NFL, in case you didn't know. Listen to the intro.
Stop it.
But in the workplace, you know where there's people that are not all in.
You can tell a leader and somebody who's not, and you don't have to be a leader, but just somebody who can carry themselves in a positive way that doesn't bring down the people around you. Right. You know, and I'll tell you this about this whole scrubbing your social media deal. I thought the same thing you did, Grose. When it happened, I'm like, oh, this is a whole big nothing. You know what I mean?
I know high school kids who do that
right.
every year.
Yeah, you just scrub it all, whatever. It is what it is.
Breaking up with my girlfriend.
Yeah, it is what it is. However, at this point, every national media outlet has ran this story.
That's the problem.
Hang on a second. There's absolutely no way that Kyler Murray doesn't know the stir that it caused.
Of course he does.
All he has to do is make one post and just say, listen, I was scrubbing my things. Everything is fine. And it goes away. But since he hasn't done that, clearly dude is either loving this attention about it or was actually trying to make a point.
He's angling.
Because his representative or him could end all of this national speculation by simply saying, dude, I was just scrubbing my media. The whole algorithm thing. We're just trying to get rid of some of the pictures. That's all they had to say. This all goes away. But they haven't. Right. So there's a reason they haven't. Either he loves this drama or was trying to make a point. Either way, in my opinion, it's incredibly childish and very immature. And that's the two things I can't have as my quarterback.
But it's also embarrassing for the Arizona Cardinals.
Of course, extremely.
Is playing games with you and not following you. Like, how do you have a guy that you are depending on to lead you towards championship aspirations, and he's not even following you on social media?
No, it is. And the other 52 guys in the locker room, the ones
see that.
They see that, and they also defended him, though, too. Like when they get asked after the game, like Kyler's the leader. 2 years, what you said earlier, he's my quarterback, right?
My quarterback.
Right? So, and then you see that afterwards. Like, I just think it's the immature label fits really well. Whatever the end result he's looking for is fine. I mean, the fact of the matter, from a purely business standpoint, in the NFL, he's got one option. The Cardinals hold all the cards.
Yeah.
So that ain't going away.
Right.
And we'll get into this in our next segment. Major League Baseball ain't doing anything right now, so it's not like he's going to say, "Hey, screw it, I'm going to croak." Because what are the A's? They're in Mesa now, so he goes like, "Hey, you'll find me over in Mesa." Well, guess what? Nope. Yeah, it's locked. There's a padlock on the gate right now. So in terms of your options, if you're Kyler Murray, you don't have any right now.
None whatsoever. And this is just like I'm taking my ball and going home.
Yeah,
is what it seems like. It seems like a kid that he's not getting his way. He's not playing in the Super Bowl. So I'm just going to take my ball and go home.
Do you entertain phone calls? Because let's be real, as much as we're talking about this leadership deal here and there, he would still have quite the market if it got floated out in NFL circles that there's a potential chance we'll move on.
No.
Do you take phone calls?
No, you don't take phone calls because if you lose him, who do you bring back?
Exactly.
Who is the quarterback going forward?
You're
not going with
You're
Colt
starting
McCoy.
over again.
Yeah, no.
And Steve Keim has used most of his 9 lives when it comes to pulling rabbits out of his hat.
Because part of this
the Texans ain't calling this time.
Right.
Yeah.
Part of all this national
Wow. Wait a minute.
Wow.
part of all this national hoopla about this dumb story
Wait a minute.
is fan bases. The Broncos fan base, Texans fan base, all those fan bases need a quarterback are like, oh, we can make a trade.
Wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Am I onto something?
I'm
Reunited and it feels so good?
I don't know, bro. I don't know.
Send him back to Texas? Is that what you're saying?
No, forget it. Send him wherever you want to send him, and then go get DeAndre Hopkins, D-Hop's old quarterback.
Oh, Watson.
Yeah, I like that.
Do you?
I like Watson.
I love Watson.
You're playing pickup football in the backyard, and you got two guys on the wall. Watson, Murray. Who you taking?
I'm taking Watson, but I gotta know that the NFL is going to let him play on my roster.
I understand that. It just tumbled out and took
I think the Watson stuff's going away. I think this had a lot to do with what Houston was going on and him wanting to leave, and I think it gets resolved. If they really wanted to, it gets resolved.
If it's going to get resolved, you'd think it would happen sometime in this offseason.
It has to, doesn't it?
For his sake, you hope so.
I mean, it'd be 2 years at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's ugly. Oh, by the way, speaking of getting resolved, a story that we looked at, and I should save this for later, but it fits into what we were talking about with Deshaun Watson. Trevor Bauer, remember, he got shelved because of these allegations.
Yeah.
Couldn't pitch in the postseason.
Yeah.
No charges. It's gone now.
Wow.
Just like that.
Wow.
So
no settlement, no nothing?
Well, I don't know about civil, but legal troubles are gone. He may have to deal with – maybe he did something to make him go away. I don't know. To the point about, what happens and does Deshaun Watson's situation resolve itself? Strange times we live in.
Yeah.
All right. We'll keep an eye on that because guess what? It's a story that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
On the other side, more just kind of sports stuff. A lot going on, and we'll get to that on the other side. Train and Grose. Stick with us.
Yeah.
Train and Grose.
Welcome back in, Train and Grose.
Yeah.
Baseball news. Kind of a surprising story. Sad story. Jeremy Giambi died.
I saw that about 5 minutes ago.
47 years old.
Way too young.
What?
When I was looking at other stuff, popped up. Jeremy Giambi died at his parents' home in Southern California, age 47.
What happened? I mean,
no details given.
Seriously?
Yeah. Died at the age of 47.
Wow.
Oakland A's had it on their Twitter account, and again, there's no. It said that Ken Rosenthal, who is kind of an authority on baseball, said that the family is requesting privacy during this difficult time. Obviously he was tied up with his brother with the whole steroid thing. They both testified, but I don't know, man. That when I was looking, because I was obviously want to talk a little bit about baseball here. That was the first thing that popped up under baseball headlines right now. So sad news. Jeremy Giambi, 47 years old. Speaking of news in Major League Baseball, there is none. And here's a sport that's
tragic in itself.
Baseball can't afford it, man. I mean, when was the last time any of us, I'll put myself in there, and I think I know the answer for you and you, Sean. When was the last time you sat down with the intent, I want to watch this baseball game, and then sat and watched a whole baseball game?
World Series?
Yeah. No, for me it was –
I probably should have –
It was a World Series. I was on the road with the Sun Devils in a hotel room, so I had nothing else to do. You know what I mean? They didn't want us out and about because the whole COVID thing, so I had nothing else to do. Right. So I actually made a little small wager on the app on my phone and sat and watched the game.
Yeah.
But that's the only reason, and it was the World Series.
Yeah, World Series, that I get that.
Yeah.
But like a regular season
Couldn't
game?
tell you.
Man, and I don't know what they're doing. And impactful here, we were joking around about Kyla Murray, taking his ball and going over to the Oakland A's training camp. It's huge business in Arizona. I mean, we're talking nearly, billions of dollars over the years of impact. And if the visitors don't come and they don't play these games, you lose that. And according to published reports out of New York, they are very close to announcing this delay of training camp or spring training, which typically pitchers and catchers are reporting right around President's Day. So that's coming up here, not this Monday, but the following Monday.
Yeah.
So we're very close to real impact here to an ownership lockout. Let's be really clear about that too. The players aren't on strike. The owners lock the players out.
If you're baseball, you're in soccer on the brink of being thrown into the sea of irrelevancy. You're really on the brink. I know there's a niche group that loves baseball and will forever love baseball, and there's nothing you could tell them different about the game of baseball. But for the mass sports watchers, baseball and soccer are on the verge of extinction in the United States. Now, I know in other countries this is not the case, but here in the United States, if you're talking about a game that's long and doesn't have a time limit and can go on forever.
And there's so many of them.
So many, 162. I mean, look, that's just not the ideal thing for young people to have to sit and watch for hours and hours at a time. They like fast-paced, short, quick, things that are happening right now. And I think baseball, as you said, Mike, they got to be very careful because this could be the start of them falling off the map and never coming back.
You hit the nail on the head, too. The hardcore baseball fan is a lot older.
50 and older.
A lot older than the average, right? So
50 and older.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, okay. That's why you got to be careful here. So the other thing, the owners, this whole salary thing, we talked about it beforehand. $1 billion on the last day of business before they lock the players out. So essentially when they're talking about salary issues and that sort of thing, they're like, hey, protect me from myself. I mean, that's really what they are. And the last thing I'll say, because we can't give them, there's no news, is there's no urgency. They are not talking right now. They have the winter meetings for the owners, so they haven't even been talking with the players. Another story that I'm reading here right now says they hope to resume negotiations after the owners' meetings are done. They don't even care.
Yeah, I mean, the union, though, has beat up the owners for so many years.
It's the strongest union in professional sports.
Strongest union in professional sports. And I think the owners have just had enough. They're tired of getting their ass kicked by this union because every time they go into battle, the players always come out smelling like roses, and the owners begrudgingly give them exactly what it is that they wanted. And I think at this point, they've just said enough is enough because you look at the salaries that the players get and you look at the attendance in these ballparks, it doesn't add up, Mike. It doesn't match. You don't see the interest overall like you used to see in baseball really since 1994.
Yeah.
You can go all the way back to the first strike or that particular strike when things they just never seem to have recovered. And then you saw this surge in football and basketball and in these other sports. And they've got to be really careful, Mike, because this could be that death blow. If they go through with this and they lock out baseball for any length of time, then I really believe that they can find themselves in a position that they never thought that they would be in.
Yeah, and the owner, like here, the Arizona Diamondbacks, not exactly considered a big market team. What's the incentive for Ken Kendrick to unlock the team if that's the opposite of a lockout? Welcome his players back. That dude signed a $1.5 billion TV contract with then Fox Sports Arizona.
Right.
So he got his, man.
Yeah.
So to your point, and you
But
can't,
was that contingent on there being games being played?
Well, yeah, but he's already been paid out a big chunk of it. No, but that's fair. If you don't play, you don't get. Like if I don't get a product,
right.
I ain't gonna pay you.
Exactly.
But that's 2015, man. That was 8 years ago. So he's gotten a lot of it.
Yeah, he's got a good.
He's gotten a lot of it. Yeah. Meanwhile, down the road, the Phoenix Suns, all they do is not lose.
Win, no matter what.
Man, they best record in the NBA. And the other thing too, and I think it fits this team well. You hear the disrespect term, and they don't wear it like in a negative way.
Right.
I think it fuels these guys a little bit. And it came out that, none of the Suns were voted as starters. That's disrespectful.
That is, because you got the best record in the league.
44-10, not even close.
Not even close. And yet you've got two guys that are perennial all-stars that deserve the lion's share of the credit.
Coming off the bench.
How does that work? How does not one of them make the starting rotation? Because now it just becomes a popularity contest, and everybody's voting for the guy that they like the most. Like, okay, he's my favorite player, but then there's no sense of merit that's involved. Like, to me, you've got to earn the right to be a starter, to go out there with the starting five. Yeah, this guy can be on the roster because he's popular, but when you start talking about the actual game, you've got to give that respect to the people that have actually earned it.
Kevin Durant, we just lost it. DeMar DeRozan, Trae Young, Joel Embiid, and Giannis. That's your Eastern starters. LeBron, Nikola Jokic, Andre Wiggins, Steph Curry, and John Morant. Those are your Western Conference starters for Team LeBron and Team Durant.
Wow.
So, obviously, Suns represented. Monty Williams, the head coach, but no Phoenix Suns on the starting lineup. Trade deadline coming up. And, again, people that know better than us, right, if you look at social media, Suns make a deal. I don't know. Like,
why?
Why mess with the chemistry?
No.
Like, I know you got to write stuff about the trade deadline, but why? And I don't think you do. If I'm James Jones, what do you do? How do you make this team better?
Yeah, I looked at the there was a video on Instagram of the pregame ritual for the Phoenix Suns. These guys look like they're having the biggest blast that you could ever imagine. And JaVale McGee is one of the leaders as far as the pregame hype guy. Like, he's getting everybody fired up. You know, Chris Paul did his thing. Devin Booker did his thing. But JaVale McGee, the guy that, you know, even though he is a 2-time champion, a guy that has, you know, been around, or maybe a 3-time champion. I think he did. Wasn't he one on the one with the Lakers, the most recent one in the bubble?
I believe he was. Yeah.
So 3-time champion. So the fact that he's got rings where some of the other guys don't, you know, although you know he wasn't the main guy on any of those teams. The fact that they have that kind of chemistry with everybody, and DeAndre Ayton was another guy that was going around making his rounds.
Right.
This team likes each other, and that's why they play so
chemistry.
well. Yes,
chemistry is important.
Yes, it is.
I saw somebody put something out there. It was so ridiculous that, well, here's how the Suns get out from under this DeAndre Ayton thing. You do a sign and trade deal right now. Like,
why?
No, why?
Why? It's working.
Well,
very
and
well
I think
for
they're
them.
trying to make a big deal out of, you know, what was supposedly a big deal, but clearly it's not at the start of the season.
Well, yes and no. I mean, how many games has DeAndre Ayton played this year? And you have the best record in franchise history after 50 games.
Right. So my point,
what people are looking at, I think, is somebody who they feel is expendable at this point.
and he may very well be expendable, and that's a great point about but he's part of this right now, and whatever he is contributing, that goes to the chemistry that this team's enjoying right now. My thing is, if you do those kind of big sign and trade, that's a summertime, that's an off-season type of deal. You don't do that around now. You don't do that right now.
No.
Meanwhile, one team that I just one guy you feel bad for, Damian Lillard. Like, you know, here's a team that's Chauncey Billups, the head coach now, and, you know, it doesn't matter. 7, 8, no, math is bad. 13 games under 500. They blow it up, and they're going to rebuild around him. He's 31.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that?
No.
I mean, you're 31 years of age.
And there's been talks about him going other places, like Madison Square Garden. Like, that's one of the destinations that he's had interest in going to.
Let me go.
You just traded C.J. McCollum.
Yes.
To the Pelicans.
You blew
the Pelicans?
You blew the whole thing up, and he's the last man standing.
Oh, now his contract it dictates why.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah.
I just feel bad.
Yeah, I do feel bad for him too, because he's given everything to that organization.
Absolutely. And again, a franchise that's going through a lot with front office, and maybe he's caught up in it a little bit. All right, real quickly before we send us to Pump the Brakes and Dad Jokes, college basketball. Locally, I got to say this. Like, it was such a good weekend for basketball in Arizona. ASU, who's struggling this year, had a huge win over the weekend. They beat UCLA. Was it double or triple overtime? Sean, what time did you get to bed?
They'd be triple overtime. I pulled into the house a little after 1 o'clock.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
it was a 9 o'clock start, and then we went to triple overtime.
But you had a front row seat to that.
I sure did.
That was fun. Like,
it was.
You watched that game, and you know, you look at what we thought Bobby Hurley was going to build here, and I know struggles and the composition of this roster and all that, but that was just, I think if you're an ASU fan, those are the nights you wanted more of.
That's only the 8th time in school history that the ASU has beaten a top 3 team in the country.
Wow.
8th time. Bobby Hurley's got 3 of them.
Wow.
3 of them.
3 of the 8.
Yet UCLA and Kansas twice.
Wow.
So, go
figure.
Yeah,
and meanwhile,
he just for whatever reason can't seem to put together a roster that's
full.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the other team in Arizona, that's a good basketball team. And you said
it's a very, very good basketball team.
Speaking of COVID, speaking of reschedule, ASU played Saturday into the wee hours.
Right.
Yes.
And then they turned around Monday night, home game against Arizona.
Yeah.
Started nice. But this team is Arizona Wildcats are loaded.
They can, and here's the thing with them: they've got so much size, right, and the ability to play any way you need to. They can slow it down and play inside with that great size I was talking about and length. They can get out and run. They can shoot the ball. It's just a basketball team that is just incredibly well built. Now, they're not super deep. They really only go about 8 because of some injuries, 8 guys deep. But man, you're bringing a center off the bench that would start on 90% of the teams in the country. I mean, this is just a roster that is really, really impressive. And when you see them in person, they're so big and so athletic and so long. That is a really good basketball team they have in U of A this year.
Yeah. What's his name? Jerry Palm, CBS Sports, did his bracketology, and the nod still to Gonzaga as the number 1 seed in the West.
Sure.
I think Arizona's better than Gonzaga.
We'll see. And again,
as strange as this is, mid-major, Gonzaga's not a mid-major. They got a better pedigree right now, and so
when it comes to the tournament, you got to get a little lucky, right? You always do. You're going to have a game where you're not shooting it right, and the team you're playing against is shooting the lights out. You just got you got to get a little lucky. So we'll see what happens come March. But that is an impressive basketball team, to say the least.
Auburn, your new number 1 team in the country.
They just went
and
down.
They got bounced by Arkansas.
How about that?
Did
you see that court storm?
Did you see the head coach with his shirt off?
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
So I mean, again, I thought COVID was still a thing. What happened?
Hey.
What happened?
There we go back to that.
Wow. Oh, yeah.
All right, college basketball, March Madness right around the corner. That's going to do it for the heavy lifting.
I mean, I look at this and I think the NFL has really done college basketball a disservice. Moving this games back a week, and now you're finishing the season in the second week in February. You're basically hijacking the entire college basketball season.
Well, I think that and speaking of where COVID's not done, college basketball, the schedules are a mess. Like when that ASU U of A, I knew it, like I had heard it.
Right.
But like you don't think about ASU and U of A playing on a Monday night in February. That's not what you expect.
No.
Right? And, there's games all over the place. Michigan played at Penn State the other night, a rescheduled game, and it started at 9 o'clock Eastern time.
Oh.
It just the schedules are wreaking havoc on this as well.
That's bad.
So, we'll see. So NFL will be off the radar come Sunday, and college basketball gets top billing.
All the attention.
Top billing.
But then they take a little backseat to the NBA.
Well, NBA's
it's the second half. It's about to be All-Star week.
It's about, but I think, my opinion, NBA takes a backseat till
the college basketball until March.
In March,
right?
Yeah.
Only in March.
Well, even now, if you give me a choice between a regular season NBA game mid-February after the NFL or a regular season college basketball game, that matters. I'm not talking about 2 last place teams in the SEC,
right?
Or I'm not talking about the Pistons and the Rockets. But if you give me an equivalent matchup, I think I'm going college basketball because the end is near. Like. You can get that at the end of March and into April in the NBA.
Yeah.
Just me.
Yeah, I got you.
So, all right, pump the brakes.
It's time.
Dad jokes.
Yeah.
You got the glasses ready?
I got the glasses ready,
Keep them handy.
They're ready.
That's coming up next on Training Growth.
Hey.
Welcome back. Final episode of Train and Gross, episode number 62.
It's a final episode?
Final segment of the episode 62.
Freudian.
Something I don't know?
I was going to say, wait, hang on.
Hold up.
What?
Got an announcement.
I really enjoy these Wednesday nights. It's kind of like my getaway for the week. So.
You two didn't notice I scrubbed you from my social media accounts.
Well played, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Well
That's
played.
good.
When I came walking in, I was wearing my Oakland A's hat, and I was scrubbed you.
Wow.
Let me start that over. Sean,
was-
you and I have done radio and stuff for, 10, 15 years
Yes,
together?
long time.
That's probably not a surprise to you.
No.
Welcome back. Final segment
Thank you.
of episode 62.
There you
Final episode of the show. Welcome back.
go. What?
All right.
This is where we do pump the brakes.
Let me take it for you. So we're going to do pump the brakes here.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to give you guys topics, statements from the world of sports, a little bit of pop culture mixed in there. You tell me if you're pumping the brakes in that statement, and I'll give you one of these, or if you're rolling with it.
Got
and you're cool with it.
Let's do it.
All right?
Let's go.
Let me make sure I got one of my things I'm doing here. Let me see here. I got to back that up. All right, so first one. Pump the brakes or not. The one play that you watched of the Pro Bowl, B-Trade, is still more time dedicated than what you've put into the Winter Olympics so far. Pump the brakes or not.
No, I cannot pump the brakes. I have not seen one single event of the Winter Olympics.
I have to agree.
The timing of it just stinks.
The timing of it sucks, and then they're forcing this Peacock app.
Down people's throat.
Yeah, I was going to be really careful with how I worded that. But this Peacock app, they're forcing it upon you. Go that road. To make you watch things on there, plus the timing difference with the other, halfway around the world.
You can't compete with football, man.
No.
You just cannot compete with
you
football.
can't compete. That being said, did you see
Grose?
Nathan Chen the other night, his short program in figure skating?
That would be a negative.
No.
Since I said I haven't
Set
seen
an
it a
Olympic
single second.
record.
Wow.
An Olympic record. It was marvelous.
Is that good?
Yes, he set a record.
Sorry. I haven't tuned in. And usually I really enjoy the Olympics. The last couple, even the summer this past time around, if for some reason it just didn't land with me.
Well, because it didn't start when it was supposed to. It was 2021 instead
late,
of 2020.
Yeah.
And then, with all of the things that were going wrong, with all of the complaints that was going on, it just...
The other thing, too, with this one is the political overtones, man. There's a lot.
There is.
The whole China
it ruined
thing.
the summer one, too.
You're right.
Yeah,
it ruined the summer one.
Yeah.
You're 100% right.
So...
All right. Sorry, Olympics.
And when you feel bad, and I can't... Look, we've been watching some of it, but I can't appreciate winter stuff those
Right.
sports, cross country skiing, or the guys that ski around with the rifles, and it's not anything I can relate to.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm
So,
with you.
anyway.
All right. So we're not watching. Sorry, we'll pump the brakes on.
So sorry.
Speaking on the Let's Go podcast, Tom Brady said he's not necessarily ruling out a return. Quote, "I'm just going to take things as they come." Pump the brakes or not, you will see Tom Brady on a football field again.
Pump the brakes. Giselle is going to put her foot down. She is finally going to say, Tom, enough. 22 years, 7 Super Bowl wins, 10 Super Bowl appearances.
Yeah.
You've got just about every single record that there is to be had at the quarterback position. There is nothing else to prove. And you go out with your body intact, still playing at an MVP type level. There's a very strong case that he could be the MVP this year.
I know.
It's either going to be him or Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
At the very least, he's going to be 2. Most players don't get to go out playing at the level where they're considered an MVP. So for Tom, this would be that to me, that's the perfect end. And the fact that he almost brought his team back from a 27-3 deficit to win the game, I think that all just says that's the perfect time to go out.
And how hard is it? I mean, you talked about your own situation. You knew it was time to go.
I knew November that year.
Right. You knew it was time to go.
I knew.
So you never look back.
No.
But for some guys, it seems like it is very hard. It's hard to say goodbye.
It's hard if you didn't accomplish what you didn't,
Which
what
he
you
did,
wanted
though.
to. Exactly.
Right. But even your former teammate, he was, they tried to pin him down at the Waste Management Open this week.
Yeah.
And he won't say the retire word. I'm happy doing what I'm doing. I'm getting involved in other things.
But he's blended that into his entire working career. He's blended football with everything else.
Right.
Seamlessly. Just
seamless.
right into it.
Yeah. But the way he talks about it, he's like, no, I'm not retiring from doing stuff. He's like, I'm still doing stuff. But he knows exactly what they're asking him. But he's finessing the answer.
The nuanced language.
He's finessing it.
So we're never going to see Tom Brady again?
No.
All right, thank God.
Wow.
Speaking of Super Bowls, CBS Sports ranked all 55 of them. I want you to pump the brakes or not on these two. They have the absolute worst Super Bowl as 1994 San Francisco 49ers 49, San Diego Chargers 26. Pump the brakes or not on that being the worst Super Bowl of all time.
No, pump the brakes.
Which one is?
San Francisco 49ers, Denver Broncos, 55-10. And number 2,
Yeah.
Chicago Bears, New England Patriots.
You want me to give you
46-10, I believe that was.
Yeah, so here's their. Well, first and foremost, Grose, do you agree with that being the worst Super Bowl of all time?
And I mentioned that before. Those Broncos Super Bowls.
No. 49ers and Chargers.
No.
We're pumped brakes on that one?
Yeah.
Well, let me give you the worst 5 that they have.
Okay.
Number 55 was Niners and Chargers, as I mentioned. Number 54 was Seahawks 43, Denver Broncos 8. That was a brutal one. Remember snap over Manning's head on the first damn play for a safety? Game was over from there. It was super boring.
Yeah.
49ers and Broncos 55-10 is the third worst, as you mentioned. I completely agree with that. The next one on the list is Ravens and Giants. Remember in 2000? 34-7.
They almost goose egged them.
Yeah, it was just bad. That was just a bad, boring Super Bowl. I remember where I was watching that one. And then There's one we don't need to talk about. And then number 50.
Well, why don't we need to talk about that?
The Bucks 48, the Raiders 21 back in Super Bowl 37.
Yeah.
And then you had the Washington football team, Washington Redskins at the time, 42, Denver Broncos 10, after they jumped out to that early lead and then ball game right after that.
Doug Williams.
Yeah.
All right,
So here's the other one I
Second
want.
quarter.
Here's the other. I wanted to go to the other side of the coin here.
Yeah.
The number 1 Super Bowl, according to the CBS Sports list.
It's got to be the Titans, the Rams.
Pump the brakes or not, Patriots, Seahawks, the Malcolm Butler interception in the end zone.
Pump the brakes. Titans, Rams. The guy Kevin Dyson was a yard away from tying that football game. A yard.
That game comes in, that clocks in as their number 8 best Super Bowl of all time. Yep. Rams and Titans.
8.
Number 8. The little blurb, it says, the beginning of the greatest show on turf culminated in Kurt Warner winning a Super Bowl MVP by throwing for more than 400 yards. It looked like the Titans would score and tie things up, but Kevin Dyson was stopped, almost frozen in time with his hand reached out to the end zone. The world was 1 yard short from Jeff Fisher possibly winning a Super Bowl.
Super Bowl XXIV
I don't
has its own web pages about that last play.
How?
Their number 1 has number 7.
Houseway.
You want the other ones then? All right,
ahead.
so you had the Patriots, Seahawks, Malcolm Butler interceptions, number 1. The helmet catch, Giants, Patriots is number 2.
Here.
Okay, undefeated.
Both those games were here, by the matter of fact. Eagles, Patriots with the Philly special is number 3.
No punts in that game,
Yep.
by the way.
Patriots, Falcons, the comeback is number 4.
No.
When Brady leads about, I don't know, it was pretty damn solid. I mean, that game was pretty awesome.
All time out of the 56 or
Yep.
55.
And then number 5 to round things out for the top 5 was Steelers and Cowboys back in Super Bowl 13.
Jackie Harris drops the ball.
It hits him right in the chest, man. That's just a brutal play.
Wayback machine.
Brutal play. Then they got the Giants and the Bills, the wide right.
1990.
Not to bring up old stuff, but you do make the top 10.
It was a great game.
You're number 10.
It's a great game. I will always have somewhat fond memories of that game because we were in it to win it. And we had a chance and we did not get blown out. So I mean, for all the drama, the play right before half, Santonio's play, Kurt and
I would have it higher than 10, to be honest.
I would.
Yeah.
I would too.
And the other reason
I'm biased.
I think the other reason you put it higher is performance versus, or the outcome versus expectations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, because I don't need to tell you, everybody dumped the worst playoff team ever.
Collinsworth,
right?
yeah.
Chris
and
Collinsworth.
to go all
Thank
the way,
you.
yeah, right. Go all the way to the Super Bowl and to be in it to win it.
Yeah.
That
2 minutes and 38 seconds left.
The image of Larry splitting the safeties, I will never lose from my mind. Like I can close my eyes and see that for the rest of my life.
I remember.
Sure, you can too. But
There's certain things I remember in my life, and when Larry did that, I can tell you where I was, what
me
I
too.
did.
I was hosting a Super Bowl thing at a local establishment in Chandler, and when he split the safeties, glasses and beer bottles and everything just flew in the air. Like it exploded in there.
Wow.
Exploded in there.
Yeah.
Sorry, not to bring up old
all
stuff.
good, man.
We have a rule in this program not to bring that up.
No, it's
and
all good.
because of the week, it's hard
all
not
good.
to.
It's all
Yeah.
good. Life goes on.
One last football one before we go on to pop culture. We talked about the scrubbing of said quarterbacks' social media accounts.
Yee.
So pump the brakes or not, Kyler Murray will be a Cardinal beyond the 5 years of the rookie contract.
Pump the brakes. I think this is the beginning of the end. I really do. I think that looking at this situation and knowing the type of guy that he is, I don't think he's long for this. I don't think he's long for this organization. I really don't.
I got to agree with you. Hit it. You look at it, and it's easy to point the finger at the Cardinals on a lot of things. A lot of things, currently and through the years. I don't need to tell you. You know. I don't know that this falls squarely on the Cardinals. I think
No.
this is what we talked about before. This is a really immature kid.
Right?
And I think for him, he's so talented, things came easy. You hear about, well, what was his record in high school games
Never
in
lost.
Jerry World? Or
Never
what?
lost.
Never lost. College football, wins the Heisman Trophy.
Number 1 pick overall in top 10 pick in 2 different sports.
And we talked about before, and it's not fair to compare players to players, but whatever, I'm going to do it. Josh Allen, he's kind of like that team that had to get hot to get into the playoffs. We talked about the 49ers, why they were so dangerous. They had to get hot. Had to win in November and December just to get to the playoffs.
Also their style of play. You know that they –
Yeah, no, and I like I said, it's a tough comparison, but here's a guy that nobody wanted him, had to go to a junior college, had to go to the football powerhouse Wyoming. So whatever came easy for Kyler Murray, it wasn't that way for Josh Allen.
At all.
And he probably still wears that a little bit. That shaped him and that molded who he is.
Can we talk about Tom Brady, pick
Same
number
thing,
199?
Right. I was just trying to find somebody that's in the NFL now, but same thing.
I mean, he just got out. I mean, he's
compatriot.
I think there's a lot
but
of
you're
guys.
Right. No, you're right. Like I said, and you got to learn things.
Yeah.
You got to learn how to lose.
You got to struggle a little bit.
And I don't mean that you accept losing, but you have to deal with it. You have to
struggle.
You have to understand how to use it to your advantage. I don't think he has.
But on the flip side of that, hello Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hadn't really learned that much
No.
losing in the last couple of years. All he does is win.
Yeah. All right.
Kind of ruined the curve for everybody. Like, Detroit, Jacksonville, Houston, you're on notice. Yeah. Cleveland, for sure. Just imagine being the Browns right now.
Oh, it's the worst.
Imagine being the Browns right now. You're watching your cross-state rival go to their 3rd Super Bowl compared to your 0.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, they had the worst record in football right there alongside you just a couple of years ago. The Bengals did, and now they're in the Super Bowl.
They got Joe Burrow.
And you can't get right.
And you got Baker Mayfield.
Right.
So now on top of that, the guy that you tried to blame as the bad guy
is in the
Super Bowl.
And balling out the last 2 months.
And playing tremendous ball.
Yeah.
If you're a Cleveland Browns fan, you have to be depressed right now. You have to be thinking, what do we have to do?
Womp, womp, womp. Hit it. That's your theme song right now.
If you're the Cleveland Browns, I mean, think about it. You got to watch the Cincinnati, but you got to watch your hated cross-state rival play in a Super Bowl after, in 2 years, drafting their quarterback.
Yeah. And there's no end in sight to what this team's going to do.
And you got to see them twice a year every year, no matter what.
Yeah.
And they're going to be licking their chops, ready to kick your head in every single year.
Well, all those Browns players and fans are going to be watching the Super Bowl like the rest of us, eating some snacks, and that's where our final pump the brakes question comes in. This one hurts my heart a little bit. Chicken wings obviously comes in as the number 1 snack food for the big game.
Easy.
According to a survey, over 2,000 Americans surveyed who plan on watching the game, 65% say that boneless chicken wings are just glorified chicken nuggets. Pump the brakes or not on that statement.
Boneless chicken wings are just
glorified chicken nuggets. That boneless chicken wings are not acceptable.
What is
it?
Are boneless chicken wings acceptable?
They're acceptable, but I mean...
They are what they are.
They are what they are, yeah.
See, I love the boneless chicken wing. It's the only way. And if it's not... If you can't have the boneless chicken wings...
You like nuggets too, right?
I enjoy nuggets, yeah. But if you can't have the boneless chicken wings, it's drumstick or nothing for me.
But what about the sauce though? What's the sauce?
I'm not a spicy guy.
No, I can't either.
So
no sriracha sauce?
Mild. I'm fine with mild. But anything beyond that, it's like, to me, it's just, why do I want to be in pain while I'm eating my food? Barbecue is my next one.
Barbecue.
Honey mustard's not bad. I'd say honey mustard's down the list for me. Barbecue might be number 1, depending on the place you go to. But the mild regular buffalo sauce is he's got a whole drawer of sauces down there. Oh man.
Sriracha sauce.
That's the way to do it. He's got
change your life.
He's got a drawer of sauces for those not just listening.
Today's Pump the Brakes brought to you by Wendy. No, Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A.
Shout out to Chick-fil-A.
Barbecue.
Barbecue, number 1.
Yeah. And no
drumsticks over flats?
I don't care at that point.
Really?
I eat it all.
See, I'm not a.
You gotta have the drumstick. You gotta have the bone.
You gotta get that meat. You know what I mean?
Get all messy doing it.
I'm gonna stop while I'm ahead.
Whoa.
Hold up.
Please.
I'm glad it's
Don't
you this
stop
week.
on the head.
I'm
glad it's you
Pump
this
the
week
brakes.
and not me.
I'm talking about chicken.
You also talked about the Peacock Network.
It's being forced down your throat. It's true.
Yes.
All right, this is how it works. Let me change my page here. All right, here we go. So it's time for our dad joke of the week.
Yep.
B-Train's going to give us a dad joke on the way out. No matter what, he's going to get one of these. If it's a quality dad joke, you're going to hear the laughter. If it's above and beyond, you're going to get some of this. And if there is that chance.
There always is. Ain't going to happen, but there always is that chance.
There's that chance.
If your finger might slip.
All right, so what and where are we going today, B-Train?
All right, here we go. Did you hear about the guy who invented lifesavers?
What about him?
They say he made a mint.
That was good. It was borderline, though, I'm going to tell you.
You were thinking about
borderline.
I mean, look, I almost ruined it because I couldn't stop laughing.
You were thinking about it.
It was borderline.
It was not borderline. It was a good one.
Maybe-
The delivery sucked.
Maybe the delivery.
The delivery sucked.
You want to do another chance at it?
The delivery sucked. I got another one.
Oh, okay.
All right, here we go.
Redo.
I just watched a documentary about beavers. It's the best damn show I've ever seen.
Now that is a dad joke. That's how you go out.
That's right.
Thanks for watching
That's
us.
right.
Listen to us.
Yeah.
YouTube, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts.
Hopefully we were a beaver show today.
Wow.
Best damn show.
Wow.
No?
You.
Beavers.
Beaver Show, Peacock Network.
Hit myself with it on
You're
that.
just skirting that.
Just hit myself with that one.
Drumstick meat, whatever.
Got it.
Get me out of here.
That's going to do it for episode 62. We'll see you next time on Training Grose.
We'll holla.